Hello, and welcome to Jocking Off with my girlfriend.
This is my girlfriend, Erin.
This is my girlfriend, Kat.
And Erin really does not like this title.
Oh my god, it's terrible.
So there's a lot of WrestleMens to talk about, but also the hockey season has started.
Yep. Kat's very excited for that.
It's great. I get to watch hockey again. Only this time, all of us are getting into it. So now that means that Erin is watching hockey. Eric is watching hockey. Emma tolerates us talking about hockey.
See,
So Erin,
it's nice to be on the inside of this for once, unlike the Star Wars stuff where I just go, I have no idea what any of you are saying.
So Erin, who's your favorite team?
Okay, so I'm going for the Flyers this year
Okay.
because I asked Twitter who I should follow.
And most people said the Flyers.
Yeah, with about, was it 4 or 5 votes? Yeah, I think it was 5 votes for the Flyers and 4 for not the Devils.
I will note that Erin was explicitly banned from being a Rangers fan.
Yeah, that was some of the only rules. Couldn't be a Rangers fan, and I didn't want to be Devils or Capitals because I wanted to compete against you and Erica.
Okay, that's fair. And hot.
Yep.
Competition is sexy, I get it.
Yeah, it's sexy and fun.
So the Flyers make sense. In the same division, you've got the advantage of having Gritty on your team.
And playing each team like 8 times?
8 times this season, yeah.
Yeah.
That's not normal,
by the way. There'll be
by
lots of chance. No. It'll be a lot of chances for some interesting games and some interesting weeks. Like the week right before Valentine's Day.
Yes. So
the Flyers are playing 2 games against the Capitals and 2 against the Devils.
I'm gonna be washed out for a second while my color correction accounts for my ring light.
Shiny nose.
Yes, my Rudolph nose here. At least I don't have Hexen antlers.
I mean, that's fair.
Okay.
That was a thing.
Hexen yeah, Erin, that was another thing that we subjected you to, wasn't it?
That just happened.
Yeah, we did an improv scene and you no-butted your way through it by not participating.
Nope. I don't do these things. I'm not comfortable with them.
I know. We're trying to get you a little bit more comfortable with yourself, though, because I think you'll be a good improviser. Anyway, isn't what you're doing right now improv?
No, this is just talking from my notes.
Yes, but
I have 3 pages of notes.
But you're synthesizing your thoughts here.
That's just streaming.
Yes, which is a form of improv. It's just not improv comedy.
No. I know. Anyway.
Okay. Anyway, we have topics. Do we want to start with topic number 6 since we were just talking about hockey?
Yeah, we can get right into that because I kind of took this opportunity. I've been wanting for a while to do something on how to get into wrestling as a non-wrestling fan. So I know what I would recommend to do for this, but I have no context for it because I've been watching wrestling for like 30 years now. So actually getting into hockey was a good chance to do this. And I came up with a couple steps that I think could help.
Okay, interesting.
And I'll relate it back to the hockey thing as we go. So the first one was to just watch before really getting into it. Before like picking a wrestler or even a promotion that you want to follow is just watch some wrestling.
Right.
In my case, it was Devil's Game that you were watching that night.
Mm-hmm.
I just happened to say, it's like, so I just sat in and wondered if I could sit through hockey games.
Right. It's the first step is this something that I can watch without like getting so bored that I stop paying attention or turn it off?
Yeah. Is this a good use of my time? Will I enjoy
Mm-hmm.
it? And then from there, I think it's pretty important, like kind of early on, in the case of hockey, to pick a team.
Right.
So that's why I went right to Twitter the night of. It's like, okay, what am I doing here? I don't just go into Twitter to find out any wrestlers' promotions to follow, but definitely like watching a whole show, you should see one or two that really catch your eye
Mm-hmm.
and go back and watch their old stuff, learn a bit of history, see what rivalries they have.
Right. And like,
Because,
sorry, not to interrupt, but like, I think having that available via IWTV, for example,
yep.
is, hey, look at that, perfect timing.
Thank you.
Having that
Thank you.
via IWTV gives you like you can look up a wrestler, be able to follow their history and everything like that through all of the promotions that they've worked with. Because on the indie scene, there's a lot of cross promotional stuff. Indie wrestlers aren't signed with one company.
And rivalry storylines can go through multiple, and they can go through multiple years even.
Mm-hmm.
When you see stuff like Kevin Steen and El Generico, like they went through every promotion they worked for, and over years they built up this storyline.
Mm-hmm. And then they went
Just
to WWE.
and it died immediately.
They've had some very good matches in WWE.
Oh
Sorry,
yeah,
no, actually, Kevin Owens has had some good matches with Sami Zayn,
yeah,
but
completely different person.
El Generico did tragically die rescuing orphans from a fire.
Yeah, it's a way that we're sure made him happy,
Mm-hmm.
but we still miss him. But anyway, so yeah, at least for me, it's important to get that history of who you're watching because it allows you to focus in on where to go from there.
Right.
And
And
then, oh, go ahead.
yeah, well, so like I wanted to speak on that a little bit because we watched a couple of like documentaries and videos on YouTube
Yeah,
together about the history of the Flyers, right? And like, the Broad Street Bullies documentary and everything like that. Like
yeah,
little
and I
things
watched
that
ones on my own of like Lindros of
mm-hmm.
the 2000 season or the 2000 to 2010 season, so I guess. I don't know how to word that.
the the aughts, their history through
Yeah,
the
they're
aughts.
the odd.
Um oh, so you got to see that Scott Stevens hit, eh?
Probably.
The
I'd have to look it up
the
again because I
the
don't have it
the
memorized.
hit that like basically ended his career.
Oh, jeez. I probably did, yeah.
It was it was nasty. And like it was perfectly legal in the league at the time. So
Hmm.
like, the at the time, because the league didn't have good concussion protocols, the rule was if you skate with your head down, you're an idiot. Don't skate with your head down or you're going to get a concussion.
Yeah, yeah. Like I can see why he would say that, but no, it's not good at the top
No.
level of play
No.
where
And that
you can mandate that.
yeah, but they didn't because it's hockey, and hockey has been a sport that is, in a lot of ways, like wrestling, slow to adapt to the change that's demanded from the environment.
Yeah. You can say the same about a lot of football and their history with injuries as well, and not providing any player benefits.
Yeah, no, the NFL is just a league that consistently makes the worst decisions possible.
Yeah.
There's a reason why they're called the No Fun League.
But in addition to like that history and the important event stuff, I also found videos just of the basic rules.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I don't know anything about hockey. I'm Canadian. I've never played. I can't skate. I never really cared.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I had to get the basic rules of what are these positions? Why are they moving like this?
Right. Which is also something you pick
And
up through wrestling.
yeah, and same thing with wrestling, where you can start to pick up like psychology and dynamics of a match. You can also find really good instruction through stuff like Tyson Dukes does it.
Mm-hmm.
I've linked to him before. Yeah, you can find all the different match types, like what is 2 out of 3 falls? What is a cage match? Like it sounds simple, but there are nuances that go along with it.
Right. And like, being able to learn and pick those things up as they happen is always a really fun thing to be able to experience, because you're like seeing, you know, you might be like, huh, there's a cage match? What's that? And then you look up cage matches and you
And
see
first you
like,
get the wrestler's database site, then you find the actual match.
yeah, yes, but no, so like you look up cage matches, or like, Hell in a Cell or whatever you want to call it at that time, you find the absolute best classic matches. The same way when
They're
you
Bret
look,
Hart, by the way.
hmm yeah, sure. The how like when you look up classic hockey rivalries, you get a lot of like the best of that rivalry. Yeah,
Mhm.
the Hudson River rivalry. Say that 5 times fast.
I will not.
Okay. No but. The Hudson River rivalry is one that you can watch, like you can look up on YouTube, and you see how like the two teams have like kind of had, this is the Devils and the Rangers, have had this like really, really long running bitter hatred for each other. And how like the Devils had, like in '94, an incredible team versus the Rangers, who again also had an incredible team in the Eastern Conference Finals. How that went down to the wire, and how like in overtime the Rangers go on to win the cup. And then like 28 years later, or whatever it might be, I no, 18? No. Hold on. 18. 18 years later, you have the Devils and Rangers meet in the Eastern Conference Finals again. And it goes out to the same number of games. And the last game in the series is tied. It's in overtime. Nobody knows what's going to happen. Everyone's kind of like sitting there waiting. Is this going to be a repeat of 1994? And then it goes the other way. And you have like this amazing, incredible, historic moment that happens because you know the history.
Yep. Like,
And
I'm sure the series was great as it is, but having the history just is such another layer to it.
exactly. It's an because that was the season of the Devils that got me into hockey. 2012. Them losing the cup was frustrating, but that's neither here nor there. The whole like process of that playoff series, where they had a series that went to 7 with Florida because it was a battle of goalies. They have the series against the Flyers that was like really rough and tumble. You have the like incredible series against the Rangers, and then forget the actual finals. The Cup finals don't matter. It was the Cup finals do matter because fucking Chris Rooney stole a game from the Devils and gave it to the fucking Kings, and that's what won him the cup. So I'm a little salty about this still.
Oh, that's what you were angry about the other night.
Mm-hmm. I still hate
Okay.
that fucking guy.
That makes a lot more sense now.
It occurs to me I shouldn't be drinking out of a mug with my company's name written on it.
Get your Soses mug sometime.
We'll make Soses mugs. That's not a bad idea. We can sell those on like a Teespring or whatever. T Public. Which one's the one that's not fascist?
Spreadshirt. They might be. I don't know. I haven't.
Okay, T Public's the good one. Teespring is the bad one.
Okay. Coming soon to a T Public near you then. As you can see from there, like having that history lets you experience these things on a whole different level. And we've talked about that before with like AEW.
Mm-hmm.
And especially with some of the stuff they have going on now, it just reaches right back into like New Japan and ROH days with the whole Bullet Club thing.
Mm-hmm.
And what this brings me up to is the next point I have is getting into the news cycle.
Right.
Keeping up to date on what's happening in real time. This is where you can get a little bit overloaded, though, if you're following just too much, and especially if you're hanging out in more fan-oriented places that can get very negative or even toxic. But it is important to be up to date. Otherwise, you're sitting between events going, well, I don't know.
Right,
It's a
right,
thing.
right. Like, if you don't follow the news cycle, you're not able to follow through with like what's going on in the story. Because a lot of the, a lot of the wrestling news cycle plays into the story.
Mhm.
We'll kind of talk about that whole like wrestling news cycle and story and everything like that when we get to one of our other topics.
Yep.
Which
be
is
very fun.
Gonna be very fun because that's another example where we can go into like the way that learning history of performers and everything like that can influence how much you enjoy current goings on, the same way that learning history in hockey helps you understand and like invest in the framework of what makes that team that team.
Yep. And like I said, it's very easy to get overloaded on the news cycle, especially when you get some days where it's the same three stories going around and you
Mm-hmm.
just get three different opinions on. So for wrestling, for instance, my news cycle access is I follow the wrestlers I care about. So I get like immediately any shows that they're doing, any
Mm-hmm.
promos they're doing, anything like that. I follow AEW's Twitter and a couple other companies like Camp Leapfrog or IWTV. And I really only watch What Culture Wrestling as like my morning video
Mm-hmm.
to go to and just get caught up over the past 24 hours. And that's it. Any more than that, and I might get overloaded and kind of hit like a burnout state on it.
Yeah, I found that I hit a burnout state watching What Culture.
Yeah, that's fair.
There's just like it was too much wrestling all the time, and all of my recommendations were wrestling on YouTube, and like I wanted to like have some weird recommendations like the latest um subtitled Coronet video.
And
Her
that's just it because oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna say her playthrough of Papers, Please is very funny.
My goodness. And that's just it. Like, What Culture does a bunch of other content as well. Like, they do top 10 lists, they do uh pay-per-view predictions, they do
Mm-hmm.
pay-per-view live streams.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, if you're drawn to everything they post, then yes, that will get you burned out. I kind of filter through some of it
Mm-hmm.
because I'll look as like I don't really need to see that. I don't need to see that. I'm interested in this one, and I've got 5 minutes, so I can take that a little bit better because like I've been following it so long. I don't need as much now.
Right. So yeah, there's just a lot of ways that you can parallel learning and becoming a member of new fandoms to the experience of becoming a wrestling fan, and I think it's really nice to have that unique perspective of having just gotten into a fandom these last 2 weeks.
Yeah, and it's really important. Like as you're getting into it, like the first 2 weeks, the first month, the first couple months, just take a look at what you're really enjoying in it,
Mm-hmm.
and that'll help you like guide where you want to go for maximum enjoyment.
For example, Erin's maximum enjoyment comes from when the Flyers go to a shootout.
No, that's when my maximum anxiety goes.
Nobody
I was
likes
very much on the edge
nobody
of my
likes the
seat.
shootout. Nobody likes the
No.
shootout.
I like the 3-on-3 overtime.
Yeah, 3-on-3 is great.
That's really exciting.
Yeah, no, like, my personal opinion is that the way that they should do overtime and the point spread is that games, instead of being worth 2 points for a win, should have a, like, set point economy. Sorry to get into hockey, but
I mean, we're already there.
okay, so like so if a game has 2 points, like 2 points up for grabs in standings points, but in theory certain games can have 3 total points available,
Okay.
it makes things like weird, and the math is hard to predict as to like what an average scoring. It makes it make less sense, you know. Going to overtime shouldn't be incentivized, but in theory it is, in a system where you add an extra point to the point economy by going to overtime.
Okay.
So if the game has a fixed 3-point value and a regulation win is worth 3 points, an overtime win is worth 1 point, the system makes more sense, and it advantages and incentivizes winning in regulation.
Yeah. Okay, I see what you're saying.
So I've been a proponent of the 3-point game system for almost as long as I've been a fan of hockey. I don't know that the NHL will ever do it. There's not another collective bargaining agreement for a while, so I doubt it'll come up. But I think it would be a good change to the game to make, you know, overtime be disincentivized. You know?
Yeah.
It gives advantages for winning in regulation that I think, you know, winning in regulation should be something you want to emphasize with the teams playing in your league, right? Like,
yeah, you really want to push winning within that time frame rather than like, well, you can go over and it doesn't hurt you too much as long as you still win.
Right.
But yeah, no, I hear you definitely.
So anyway, that's all for the hockey talk, right? You really come here for wrestling.
Yeah, no, we've done enough wrestling. Let's get back into. We've done enough hockey. Let's get back into our wrestling.
We've done enough wrestling.
That's it.
Okay, let's talk about. Was it this weekend?
Last weekend?
Last weekend, like.
Yes, it was last Saturday.
Last Saturday, Impact had a pay-per-view.
Yep.
Hard to Kill.
And you know what? They put on a really good show. My only real complaint is the piped-in crowd sounds.
Yeah, and you know, is that also a complaint you have about hockey? Yes.
Yep. It's just not something I enjoy.
No, piped-in crowd sounds always sound really hokey to me.
Yeah, it's like, and it's kind of weird because it's the same idea as having the wrestlers at ringside.
Right.
Where they're reacting the way the company wants them to.
Absolutely. But they're reacting in real time and like a real crowd would react rather than a canned crowd.
Yeah, definitely.
They're able to set up, like, you know, they're able to do chants and things like that that aren't pre-prepared.
Yeah, it's a lot more
like,
open of what can happen while still being in the confines of what the company wants.
Right, like, I don't know if He's Gonna Try was a planned chant or not.
I don't think it was. I think it was just something Trent said once, and people kept going with it.
So yeah, no, like, I think Impact put on a very good show. I think the 6-man tag match was a lot of fun to watch. It went exactly how you'd expect with Kenny Omega winning it because Impact is apparently now a junior promotion for AEW.
But even still, like, they really had to push Kenny to get the win there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there was 2 or 3 falls there where it looked like one of the Good Brothers would have been better to go for the pin, but they got Kenny in to do it
Mm-hmm.
because that's what they're pushing. And they all came out in Bullet Club gear too, so.
Yes, they all came out in Bullet Club, like explicitly labeled Bullet Club.
Yep,
Um,
and
Kenny was
we
wearing
were
a
all just a little
Halloween
bit
shirt.
slack-jawed.
It was
A little bit
fun
surreal. Again, it was fun, but a little bit surreal to see them just right out there
saying
in
Bullet
it.
Club.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like, here's the thing about that though, like, Bullet Club is kind of a New Japan Ring of Honor thing, right? Mostly New
Mainly New
Japan.
Japan. Yeah. It came over to Ring of Honor with the Elite, mostly,
Mm-hmm.
when they started having that exchange. But yeah, it's very much a New Japan thing.
So, what does that say about them? Because I know, like, New Japan is pretty protective over Bullet Club branding and everything like that, too.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, like,
What
is there
happens?
going to be any?
So, yeah, like, I think we're both about to say the same thing, but what happens
Yeah,
when you could travel internationally again,
yeah, and like, is there going to be like a legal consequence for this?
Mm-hmm.
Like, are they pushing boundaries, or is there something behind the scenes that we're just not privy to yet?
Which,
Always something behind the scenes, but
like, that's the
this is
thing.
something
Like,
bigger.
okay, so, like, one of the things, I don't know if we've talked about it on the show yet, because I think our last show was the Wrestle Kingdom show for
Yes.
this, yes? Okay. So Kenny's been using a lot of very specific terminology
Hmm.
in a lot, like talking about himself as a god.
Has he, or has Don Callis been mainly saying that? I know Kenny said it a couple times, but I think it's more Don Callis
It's
saying the
definitely mostly
god
Don
of,
Callis,
yeah.
but Kenny's been buying into it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And like that plays directly into that whole angle of how Ibushi said he would have to become god to win.
Yep. And at the end of the match where you say, I have become God.
Mm-hmm.
How do you kill a deity then? If Kenny Omega is the god of pro wrestling, how do you kill a deity? He said another deity after him.
Or crucifixion, evidently.
That might work too. Not paying attention could work, but it doesn't go so well with the storyline.
No, no, no. That's a little too American Gods.
Yeah.
And I frankly I don't want Neil Gaiman involved in wrestling.
No, no, that like there's some high mindset storylines out there already. We don't need any more of that.
Okay, look, as someone who designs very, very high concept games,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I just want dumb fight men who are stupid and sexy.
I don't blame you.
But that's why Kota Ibushi invented himself.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that's why God invented Kota Ibushi, but then I
But
realized
Coda
Kota
is
Ibushi is
God.
God.
Oh god, that is a mind trip.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
God
Himbo
creates
battle
Kota
so
Ibushi become God.
so the Impact pay-per-view was genuinely a lot of fun. Like you know, it was still Impact, and
Yeah,
frankly, Impact has had its issues over the years, and Impact still
yeah,
has
they
its
think they
issues.
dropped TNA, but I don't know. There's always been something about Impact's production when compared to something like WWE or now AEW, or maybe not so much Ring of Honor, where there's like this kind of uncanny valley of the product they put out. It seems almost more like a fantasy realm than the other ones.
Right.
Like, they shot a guy last year.
Right.
They killed off Ethan Page on this show.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's just that
He was just
air of
there's
something not right.
Impact definitely relies more on suspension of disbelief. You know,
Yeah, they really do.
but like in a way that like I mean like WWE did kill off AJ Styles last year.
I mean, yeah. I don't know, it didn't really hit the same,
They
though.
also killed off the Good Brothers. Only, whoops, surprise, they actually got killed off.
Yeah. Oopsie. Yeah, I too has a good point here with it's kind of like the same thing where Lucha Underground was kind of Uncanny Valley, but they really leaned into it.
Right.
Like a lot of people were killed off from there. There was a lot of really over the top spectacle going on.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Impact feels like it's like one foot in the fantasy, one in reality, and they're keeping that balance.
Right. They're kind of trying to straddle the line of
Hmm.
fantasy and reality in a way that like maybe doesn't always work the best. That's where I was going with that.
Yeah.
And like we'll get into this. Do we want to talk about like the whole angle with the Bucks this week and Don Callis?
The one that started last week before the pay-per-view.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, we can definitely get into that. Where there's supposed to be a six-man tag on Dynamite last week.
Mm-hmm.
It was
Which
implied it would be Kenny and the Bucks.
it specifically the only thing that it was only ever said that it would be the Elite.
Yeah.
It
So
was
they
not
very
specified what members of the Elite it would be.
or which elite now? Because Kenny and the Good Brothers are the super elite.
Yep.
As terrible as that is.
So Kenny and the Good Brothers wrestled, even though Matt and Nick were waiting backstage, had their sound
Literally
all
waiting for
queued
their
up,
music to hit.
and Kenny comes out with these two jabronis.
Mm-hmm. And they have a match where they don't seem to have much chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've all seen Kenny and the Bucks have six-man tags, and they are very fluid, very on top of each other, know each other inside and out. Whereas with the Good Brothers, it was very hit and miss.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of that actually was like again, as with the pay-per-view, is Kenny had to get the pin for this. So
Mm-hmm.
they kept moving situations around to put Kenny in to get the pin.
And like, while I respect Mr. Omega and his desire to be number one, at what point, maybe more and like a more refined, better point is, why the fuck do the Good Brothers owe him any loyalty? Why the fuck do the Good Brothers owe anything to Don Callis? As soon as Kenny and Don stop being useful to the Good Brothers,
Yeah.
I
Like
it's a lot of loyalty based on mutual gain, but a short-lived mutual gain. So this story is going to continue evolving. Like, I think the way that things will go is very, very interesting. And like
mm-hmm.
now with Hangman and that storyline, which we'll talk about next, I have no idea where he's going.
Yeah, it's like who is being useful for who in this situation?
Mm-hmm.
and who outlives that first.
Right. I think if he does not join the Dark Order, I think Hangman will get back with the Bucks.
Yeah.
And I think there will be genuine reconciliation there.
Yeah.
But
On that note, I really almost cried this week with Hangman.
oh, yeah. So let's talk about that as we're transitioning off of Impact onto other topics.
The other side of this whole storyline.
Yes. The other side
We
of this
had
pseudo romance.
where we had Negative One's birthday party
Mhm.
at the start of Dynamite this week. So we had Dark Order members Silver, Reynolds, and Colt Cabana, along with Adam Page, taking on Chaos Project and TH2.
Mhm.
And yeah, no, it was a quick match, like maybe 8 minutes, I think.
Luther did eat cake.
Yeah, Luther got face planted onto some cake. He threw, um, Serpentico got hit by a kendo stick from a kid.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, the kid can swing a kendo stick. Like, that's scary.
I
And,
on a shoot note, I think it's really really cool that AEW is being so like active and involving him in you know so many things because he's going through a very difficult time right now.
yeah, it's good to have a lot of the people who knew his dad
Mm-hmm.
at various stages of his life around as like a good reminder.
Right, and like also people who know what he's going through.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's like one of the important things about like the locker room, so to speak, is the whole like kind of like those relationships that you build with people who like you know become friends and things like that. But like even more so, you see someone like Brian Pillman Jr., who like obviously knows exactly what Negative One is feeling right now.
Yeah, no, he was in a very similar situation as a kid. And like the Dark Order members who worked directly with Mr. Brody
Mm-hmm.
and were so influenced by and Eddie Kingston and Bryce Remsburg, who knew him long before at the start of his career.
Right, from Jakara.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, no, it's good there are so many people around him at this time.
Exactly. He's got a lot of people who can it's important I think in this case for him because he's got people who can tell him about who his dad was.
Yeah,
You know,
definitely.
the things that he might not have known or might not have been old enough to know at the time and as he grows up that that family persists for him. So
Hmm.
he's got that connection. Anyway,
Yeah.
back to works.
Away from the serious into the sillier kind of where we had a great sequence to end the match with Reynolds and Silver and Hangman getting involved. And again, it's the same thing we said with Kenny Logs, where it just flowed together so well. I love
Exactly.
watching them work together.
Oh, the like triple stack.
Oh, that not so much. They tried to stack Reynolds and Silver on top of Page, but Silver is so thick. Like 6 C's here that Page's knees buckled underneath him.
He is called the Meat Man.
Yeah, it is no joke. But after the match, they get the win, and they finish up the celebration with -1, get him to the back, and in the ring, Silver's there, and he's got a microphone, and he gets down on one knee and asks Adam Page, if he
He'll
will
join the
join the
Dark
Dark
Order.
Order.
But not only that, he also says like you're really good at wrestling. You're really handsome. He does like this whole like very very cute little rambly speech about how beautiful Hangman is, which like yeah
It's adorable.
but he's also not wrong.
No, he's not. He's a very good looking guy. He's very good at wrestling. So yeah, he gets down on one knee and asks him, and Paige takes Mike's like, uh, I can't. But streamers go off and there's
A graphic that
cheering and
said
a
he
big
said yes.
yep. And it's just that moment of like they were so ready for him to just say yes and join them.
Mm-hmm.
And they wanted him around so much because they seemed to have so much fun. Like maybe not even just as a recruit for the Dark Order.
No, that's the thing. Like the Dark Order kind of almost recruits friends more than wrestlers.
Yeah.
Except
It's
5.
like except for 5, yeah. But like if you get recruited by the Dark Order, it seems to be because you gel with them more than they're just some creepy cult of perverts.
Exactly. They, you know, they do
They
what
are
they
a
do
group of
because
creep.
they're friends.
Yep.
Also, Anna.
And it puts up with them. But yeah, he says no and he walks away. He takes a bottle of whiskey that Stu had ready to celebrate with and just sulks off because he's not ready to let down his defenses for anyone
He's
yet.
not ready to trust again because he had his heart broken.
Yeah, after getting his heart broken with Kenny and the Bucks and just getting so mind fucked and gaslit by FTR. Don't forget that.
Oh
Their
yeah.
heels.
It was sad. You know,
Yeah.
I know it's character work,
Oh yeah.
but
It's definitely not the end of the story.
my my heart feels so I feel so like if it was safe to, I just want to give Hangman a hug.
Yeah.
You know, give him a hug and
No,
be like, "Hey man, it's going to be okay. You'll get through this. If you need help, I'm here." No one's
yeah,
ever
like
said that to him, huh?
well, not on camera. He did tweet at like 12 or 1 a.m. after the show.
Mhm.
Just sounds like I'm so sorry.
So when they're
I
filming
mentioned
Dark.
yeah, yeah, when they're filming Dark. He's so sorry he's still up for Dark. So I made sure to send one that, it's okay, heart emoji. So it's like, I don't know if that'll do anything. Probably not, but
No,
I
but
like feeling involved in the story this way.
mhm. And like that's the thing. Like it's not the sort of thing that you would ever have in a wrestling story of someone going up to someone who's insecure about themselves and saying like, "Hey, there's a lot of you that's worth loving. Don't forget that."
And that's exactly what the Dark Order does.
Exactly. And that's why it's fun. Like,
Yeah,
you know, that
that's why we love them.
they're a bunch of spooky perverts who just want to support each other.
Yep.
Except when it comes to the BTE title.
No, there are no friends when going for the BTE title.
No. Okay, so I just wanted to touch on this briefly because it's something that like we haven't really talked about in a while. Silver has been the BTE champion for a couple months now.
Has it been months?
Yeah, it's been since like November, December
Oh, jeez. I'm
after they
just so
had
used
that
to
Gator
seeing him
Golf
with it.
tournament.
Yeah. The tournament he lost, actually.
Yeah, he lost. Trent had the belt first. Silver won it off Trent in the first week and has been able to keep the belt since then.
In all kinds of very silly games.
Increasingly weird games.
Like throwing mustard packets into a bowl of water.
Throwing mustard
That went
packets.
for so long. Nick Jackson just put up $1,000 for whoever could finish it.
Mm-hmm. They played beer pong, but with bottle caps because Brandon Cutler didn't want to wait another day to film it.
Yup. And he has no idea how drinking games work.
Mm-hmm. They played flip cup, but that was more of a like.
Yes, that's why it's been taking so long and threw me off. They'll do like a competition one week to get a contender,
Right.
and then do the defense.
Mm-hmm.
I remember now.
They've done the spicy chip challenge. They've done
They claimed Ricky Starks cheated at the spicy chip challenge.
He did. Kick the lid off of the water bottle was such a good one.
Oh my god, yeah, with Marco. It's just a really good kick that Silver did.
Yeah, Silver just kicked that bottle real good.
You know, so yeah, we love our BT champion boy.
The BTE boy, champion mustard boy, bottle cap boy, pizza boy, every other name that he's given himself.
Oh,
It is very
that's the thing I
evident.
love.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
It is very evident from Silver's sense of humor that he's a huge Tim and Eric fan.
Okay. I was gonna say, like, his very dry, kind of awkward promos he does at the start of these segments
Mm-hmm.
is just the best.
It's very Tim and Eric. If you've ever seen, I don't know if I've forced you to watch this, Tim's Kitchen Tips.
I don't think you have.
Okay, we'll watch that after Hey Little Riddle tonight. It's
Okay.
strange. He just makes sauces.
I mean, I love a good sauce.
These are not good sauces.
Oh, oh no. Oh no.
It's one of the funniest things like I have seen probably ever. I still love it. It ends with someone who doesn't understand that it's a comedy video challenging him to a cook-off, and they have a chili cook-off.
Oh no.
So she's like participating in a shoot cook-off, and he's there just.
And he's kayfabing it?
Yes. The entire thing is in kayfabe.
Oh no. That sounds hilarious, actually.
Tim and Eric is a very, very specific brand of humor that you have to get introduced to in the right way in order to ramp up to their very weird stuff. I guarantee, though, that you have enjoyed at least one Tim and Eric thing. Because...
Are they the one who did the wrestling segment?
I don't think so.
Or was that someone else? It's like Colt Cabana was on some show.
No, that is Chris Gethard. Chris Gethard's a whole other thing that you have to kind of get introduced to the right way. The Chris Gethard show is one of my favorite shows of all time, but it's like... It's not a thing you would expect to be good. It was a public access cable show broadcast on Manhattan News Network. Sorry, not Manhattan News Network, Manhattan Neighborhood Network. So it like broadcast only to Manhattan. Most of the people were from Brooklyn or Jersey.
Oh no. I mean, I'm all for public access television.
It was really good. Like, really good. Okay, so do you remember the Terry Crews Old Spice commercials?
Yes.
That was Tim and Eric.
Okay. Like, literally or in the style of?
No, literally, they directed those Old Spice commercials with Terry Crews.
Okay, I have an idea of what to expect then.
Mm-hmm. So, like, if people say they don't like Tim and Eric, I'm like, you just maybe haven't been given the right path of introduction yet. That said, a lot of what they do is anti-comedy.
Okay.
Like, specifically unfunny stuff. Because specifically unfunny stuff is very funny.
I wouldn't know anything about that.
I've definitely shown you that video with Paul Rudd where he's like, computer show me nude Tane.
Yeah.
That's also Tim and Eric.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so I have seen some of their stuff then.
Yeah, you just haven't seen Tim's kitchen tips.
Yeah, we'll have to watch that sometime.
Yes. So anyway, wrestling.
Wrestles. Do you want to go back to Impact for just a minute?
Yeah, I'd love to continue to talk about Impact because we kind of glossed over it by talking about Kenny and then Hangman and then Silver.
Well, I was going to say because on this week's Impact show,
Mm-hmm.
there was a match to become the #1 contenders for the tag team titles held by the Good Brothers.
Before we get into that, do we want to talk about the women's tag team championship match at Impact at Hard to Kill?
Sure. Where we had Fire and Flava versus Havoc and Nevaeh. Jessica Havoc and Nevaeh.
Yes. So that was a fun match. Don't like to continue harping on this, but I will. Impact had 2 women's matches at their pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm.
AEW
And
usually
an intergender
shoehorns
match.
in 1.
If we're lucky.
If we're lucky.
And it doesn't get put on the pre-show. And the time and attention
Mm-hmm.
both matches were given, and the intergender match that opened the show,
Mm-hmm.
is just, this should be taken as notes. This should be implemented ASAP. They have a very strong women's division, and there's a reason for that.
And then like the women's singles match, right? Where you have like all of those people hanging out at ringside getting kicked out right away during that. That was like,
Yep.
having actual involvement, having factions and storylines built up for your women instead of just whatever is happening now in AEW.
Yeah,
A tournament?
for context, a tournament that I saw for 0.7 of a second on the screen. I don't know if that was my connection lagging or something else, but I don't know. But yeah, the Impact Knockouts Championship match was Deonna Purrazzo, who had Kimberly and Suzanne, who was known as Sue Young, at ringside, and Taya Valkyrie, who had Rosemary and Crazy Steve at ringside.
Right, because Rosemary and Crazy Steve
God.
wrestled the dark match or the
opening
pre-show,
match.
the opening match.
The pre-show was Brian Myers and Josh Alexander.
Right, so they opened the show with intergender wrestling.
Yeah, so that had Decay, which is an old tag team name for Rosemary and Crazy Steve, taking on Tennille Dashwood and Caleb with a K. I should try to slow down. I won't screw up this much.
Yeah, but you're excited. Also, I was excited because I like watching Rosemary. Also, double green mist.
Yeah. Okay, I will say, seeing Decay, not to be horny on Maine, the pansexual me was very happy.
Yeah, no, I get that. I get it. I get it.
Also, Rosemary and Crazy Steve were people I used to watch live here. So I'm a big fan.
Yeah, there's definitely like that level of closer connection that you have to the performers because of that. I get that entirely.
Definitely. Yeah, that regional connection is a very simple way to get involved.
That's we've talked about, not to circle back topics again, but we've talked about like how developing wrestling fandom and developing sports fandom are very similar.
Yes.
Right? In that same sense, you get a better understanding, you get a better, like, you feel a more, like, you feel a deeper connection to the team when you go to see live hockey games.
Yep.
That said, I should not go to live hockey games because the Devils have won precisely once while I was in attendance.
I think that's the same ratio as me seeing Blue Jays games.
How many Jays games have you seen?
I've probably been to a dozen.
Been to, like, over the last, what, 9 years? 30?
Okay. But yeah, no, if I'd kept going, I probably wouldn't up there too, but at a
Although,
much
to be fair,
slower
it's a
pace.
2-hour drive for you versus a 25-minute drive for me.
I mean, that's fair, but I make the 2-hour drive willingly usually.
That's
That's where I
approximately
live.
the direction of Newark.
Sure.
Yeah,
No, not Go Gwyn's.
maybe more that way, but whatever.
I don't think we're gonna get the full three-dimensional point there. But anyway, the Impact Knockouts Tag Team Championship match. This was a whole tournament that started back in November
Mm-hmm.
to get this going, to get to this point.
Right, because they had,
Uh,
like, retired the Knockouts Tag Team Championship belts a while back.
Years ago, yeah.
Side note, it's still a little wild that they're called Knockouts.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I hear more complaints from people outside the company than the women that perform there.
Which,
So,
like, I'm not gonna try to police what they call their tag team, what they call their women's division. Like, if
mhm.
the people who work there don't mind it, people who work there don't mind it.
And they get time and a fair shake. So,
Exactly. Not to mention, I do think that it's a pretty clever name.
yeah.
Like, as much as there is that little, like, or there's that, not little, but there's that aura of sexism to it, right? That it's pretty clever because, like, they could also beat the shit out of you. So yeah, they'll knock you out.
Would you like a funny story about the Knockouts
Please.
division? Years and years ago, when Cody Deaner first joined TNA Impact,
Mm-hmm.
Cody Deaner, another person I used to see live, and I saw him make a little girl cry once. He was quite a heel.
Mm-hmm.
um, his character when he went into Impact was like, "Of course, I want to join the Knockouts division. I can knock out all kinds of people." And Cody Deaner was the Knockouts champion for a while because he was very confused about what the division was.
Like, I'd rather take a himbo reason than a cheating reason.
Yep.
I'm
It's much better than what's his name back in the 90s, Harvey Winkleman.
That said, Andy Kaufman being a women's wrestling champion, top tier comedy.
Oh, yeah. Much different story than anything else like that.
Like, but I mean, it was the first time anyone had done that storyline, right? Like, and like, he
Mhm.
didn't dress up in drag or anything like that. He just declared
Nope.
himself women's world champion.
Yep. Andy Kaufman was a special character.
Brilliant, brilliant comedian.
Mhm.
There's like some
Definitely a fan of wrestling too.
there are some very rare moments where he kind of like breaks character briefly, but like in that same way that wrestlers all hold to or used to hold to kayfabe.
Yep.
Like, Andy Kaufman, to the day he died, insisted that Tony Clifton was a different and real person.
Yep.
There's still someone who, after Andy died, is performing as Tony Clifton to keep the illusion up for Andy.
Oh my goodness. I
It's
didn't know that part,
it's
actually.
amazing.
Oh, that's very cool.
So like it's and like the way that it worked was that they had multiple people playing Tony Clifton at any given time, so it wasn't just Andy.
Hmm.
It's just it's very funny. I
Oh goodness.
like not to be a comedy nerd on main, but like the whole like I in the same sense that Tim and Eric are funny because they're deliberately doing things that are unfunny. Like Tony Clifton was exactly that just years before other people were doing it. That's why
Yeah.
people always be like, "Look, Andy Kaufman was a comedic genius," because he was. Anyway.
Anyway, back to giving attention to the Knockouts Tag Team Championship, where, yeah, we had this tournament that started back in November. The original entrants were Alicia and Tennille Dashwood, Jessica Havoc and Nevaeh, Killer Kelly and Renee Michelle,
Mm-hmm.
Jordan Grace and Jazz tagged together. That was a cool
Oh
team.
god, yeah.
Kira Hogan and Tasha Steeles, Team Sea Stars, who we've seen on other shows,
Yes, they were at
with
Big Gay
Ashley
Brunch.
Vox. Yep, Ashley Vox and Delmi Exo, and Deanna Perrazzo, who is the Impact Knockouts champion, and Kimberly, and Rosemary and Taya Valkyrie. So, like,
It's
it's a very stacked card they had for this.
yeah.
Now, in the end, it did come down to Kira Hogan, Tasha Steeles versus Jessica Havoc and Nevaeh. And this match was so much Jessica and Nevaeh just putting strength to these smaller competitors and how they could flip around and be faster, and just a very classic story told in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
And in the end, Fire and Flava did end up winning. And one of the coolest things that I've seen through this whole thing is the tag titles were brought out by Gail Kim, who retired last year or 2 years ago, somewhere in that ballpark,
Mm-hmm.
and Madison Rain, who was a staple of the Knockouts division since like its inception,
Mm-hmm.
who was retiring that night.
So like it just it was a moment that honored the history of those titles. It was a moment that the women who competed were given time, respect, and dignity. It's something
Hmm.
AEW could really stand to, take to heart.
Yeah.
At Tony Khan, Young Bucks, I know you listen to this show.
We know.
I will take more 12-man tag matches if it means you can make space on the card for women. As long as the women are given time, respect, and dignity and not put in the 12-man tag matches.
I I I
It's a
I would
it's a
take that
it's a
too.
fair trade, Erin.
I know. I would take it too.
It's a fair trade. Matt, Nick, Mr. Jackson, please take this to heart. Also,
Please make it happen.
also, tell your friend Tyson that it's his fault that I'm eating Sour Patch Kid Rat Kings. I bought this tub
Oh.
of. Don't look at how much of it I've eaten. I've bought this tub of Sour Patch Kids. They're like factory defect Sour Patch Kids, right? And most of them are stuck together as a solitary piece.
Kind of gross, actually.
Yeah, so I like wanted to eat like maybe 3 or 4 of them, and I like pulled a couple out, and instead of like 3 or 4, I got a fucking Rat King of Sour Patch Kids that I had to eat like some sort of fucking animal. So anyway.
We were going to talk about this week's Impact, where there was the number 1 contender match for the Good Brothers tag titles, which was between I forget who they're against. It was like one half of Marcy Machine Guns and someone, I'm sorry, I didn't write it down, against Private Party. AEW signed Private Party on Impact in a number 1 contendership match for their tag titles, with Tony Khan and Jerry Lynn sitting at ringside. Like, I really wasn't going to tune in because I was busy. I watched the Flyers game, and then it's like, okay, I'm kind of done for the night, I think. And then this came across my Twitter feed. It's like, what? I have to turn this on right now. James Storm, yes.
So, like, I'm hopeful that AEW can take from the examples of the positives from Impact. That Impact can grow from the positives of AEW, and that this relationship builds a better product for both of them.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, more good wrestling is never a bad thing.
Competition between very good teams and very good productions is good and sexy. That's what brings out the best in performers and bookers and everyone involved.
I will always, and like, okay, so like, this is the sort of thing that
you're just eating Sour Patch Kids.
Yeah. So like, one of the things that they say, one of the things that's said, the advantage of capitalism is that competition breeds creativity, right? Let's take really that without this going on in the background. One of the things that supposed advantages of capitalism is that competition breeds creativity. To a degree, that's kind of correct. But so does cooperation. Right? Like, sitting down in a... I'm going to bring this to tabletop RPGs because that's the sort of thing that I can talk about with some authority. I promise I won't get into, like, ludonarrative dissonance, Erin.
Yes, you will.
I won't. When you're at a table with someone playing an RPG, do you have a better storytelling experience when you're in direct competition in, like, some bizarro zero-sum tabletop RPG? Or do you make a better story, have a better experience, breed more creativity when you are working together in a cooperative fashion? It's always the cooperative games that breed the more diverse stories. When it's human versus human, it's just about, like, technical skills and rules lawyering effectively. Like, who can know the meta better versus who can know the meta narrative better. Who can... I said I wasn't going to talk about it.
She's going to.
I'm not going to talk about it. But the emphasis in a ludonarrative framework, right? The game versus the story. Some people focus more on the game, right? And if you want to play a technical game as an RPG, that's fine. It's an entirely important element of role-playing games. But, like, at the end of the day, a fight to the death between player characters can only be a fight to the death between player characters. Right?
We do that in a game.
Okay, sometimes when you are working in a cooperative setting, in a shared imagined space between a group of players, the GM, and one of the players happens to be constantly asking, did I kill him? Did I kill him? Did I kill him? After one hit,
Maybe you
the
should do some PvP.
the shared creative space becomes divided into a situation where it is GM PC, PC, PC versus PC and PC.
This is very much a story of a game we got on a pickup.
This is a pickup game that Erin, Emma, and I played at the Toronto Gamers Christmas party in, oh god, was that 2018?
Yes.
Yes, late 2018. We were with two people who had never, we were playing 5e because it's 5e and it's like, everyone plays 5e.
Everyone has an idea of how it runs.
Most people who have played an RPG can tell you in some level of detail the gameplay loop of combat in 5th edition.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they've ever read the book or not is a whole other story. Regardless, we were playing with two people who had never played an RPG before, never played 5e.
Yep.
I felt bad for the other person, but I did not feel bad for the guy. But we'll call him that guy. We had that guy at the table. That guy expected every single hit to be lethal and would ask, did I kill him yet, every time he hit. He would say, okay, can I kill him? No, you can attack him. You might not kill him. He's got a pretty substantial amount of HP. Okay, I hit. Did I kill him? Well, you have to roll your damage dice. Okay, I rolled a 4. Did I kill him? No, you didn't. So eventually, we got sick of the added gameplay loop of did I kill him? No. It was
So
very,
annoying.
very Bart and Lisa, are we there yet? And we were presented with an opportunity to so we were fighting a royalty-free knockoff version of the Grinch called the Grunch. Because it was a Christmas one shot.
Mm-hmm.
So the Grunch wanted to destroy Christmas or whatever. And we're like, wait a minute. This guy that we're about to fight, he's really powerful. So the three of us, I think without actually verbally communicating this to each other.
Nope, we didn't.
Emma, Erin, and I all together decided, what if we betrayed the party?
Because he does the whole monologue thing of, join me and I will spare you or I will crush you right here. It's like,
okay, well,
he makes
we'll join.
a good point,
Yeah,
actually.
yeah, no, that's fair. You've got a bunch of contraptions. I'm fine with joining you. You guys fine? You guys okay with that?
Yeah, we're in.
Okay, we're in. So we joined with the Grunch and then killed the other player characters.
Surprising the GM.
Yes.
More than anyone.
They ran a very fun game, though. Do you remember what their Twitter was for their show? Because we should probably plug that.
Not a clue. I am subscribed to it, but I don't think I've seen them up for a while. That was a thing we did, and, it brought us closer together as a triad.
Yes, it did.
Even though I don't think we were dating at the time.
Erin and I were not dating at the time, no.
Okay, while you look for that, I'm going to go over the match a little bit.
Absolutely.
And they had a really good match going on here. And in the end, Jerry Lynn actually got involved and held James Storm while he's on the turnbuckle, which allowed Pirate Party to set up Gin and Juice and get the win, and are the #1 contenders for the Impact World Tag Team titles. And it's just so weird. It's one of those things where we all kind of spitballed ideas of where this working relationship could go, I think everyone kind of had in the back of their minds, like, it's just going to be a Kenny thing. They're going to do it and be done, and they'll go their separate ways. Like, no, they're getting more tied together now.
Mm-hmm.
And that is really cool to see.
Okay, so the show was called Quests and Queers. They haven't tweeted since 2019.
Okay. That does ring a bell now. Now, to continue on from this, Private Party had a match the next night on Dynamite, which I'm pretty sure was pre-recorded, which would explain why they're at two things within however long without getting tested.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they had a match against Top Flight and Matt Sydal, and Private Party kind of leaned into the Matt Hardy tactics,
Mm-hmm.
where they brought in a steel chair and they hit. I know the name, I can't think of it right now. They hit one of Top Flight in the ribs and got a win out of that. So it's like kind of a weird overall mood for AEW right now with this, and that they are kind of the heels moving in here.
Yeah, which is weird positioning for Private Party.
Yeah.
Aitsu did it again. They said something in commentary basically, oh my god.
Yeah, it happens a lot.
Okay, so like there's a lot. Yeah, but like okay, we're gonna let's talk about King Carney himself here, Matt Hardy.
Mm-hmm.
He's doing this big money Matt thing
Yep.
where he's just acting carny as fuck.
He's a jackass. And like
Like,
I'm not sure the legality of some of the stuff he's doing.
oh, almost assuredly none of it's legal. I guarantee that contract he had the Buck sign is not binding because like he had them
It's
sign
not
a
his
blank
building.
piece of paper.
And it's Tony Khan's building.
Mm-hmm.
Top to bottom.
Toe to tip, that's a con. Sorry, that's a Monster Factory reference.
Goodness.
Toe to tip, that's a Bart, is something that they said when they accidentally designed Bart Simpson 2.
Oh jeez.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
he's doing all this stuff. And like with Private Party, he's getting like 30% of their pay now for his teachings.
Mm-hmm.
And his teachings are basically cheat.
Mm-hmm.
And it's getting through.
Mm-hmm.
And that's worrisome.
But they're winning.
Yeah, they won. They won at Impact, that they're actually making headway. Which means they'll probably keep doing it.
Mm-hmm. So I want to talk before we get like too deep into. I don't know how many other topics we have. We have.
Definitely have a couple.
I think we wanted to talk. We've talked. The check. Okay, so the topics we wanted to talk about that remain: the new NXT signings.
Yep.
And next weekend's Cybernetico.
Yeah, there is that. And we found some details of Sting's first match in AEW.
Oh, yes. Do you want to go over that?
Yeah, I'll go over that real quick. It came from the promo in the ring this week, where it looks like they're going to lean into this Team Taz versus Darby and Sting kind of thing with a street fight. Now, knowing what we remember from Sting coming in before, he wants to do like more cinematic style matches rather than a full on brawl, which is good because he's banged up and he shouldn't be getting thrown around.
Agreed.
And it's also really good to do that way because we know Brian Cage is known to be a safe worker.
Exactly.
So he's someone you want around a vet like Sting who needs that extra little cushioning. And we know that Ricky Starks is so good with small details in his performance. And then on top of that, you have veterans in Taz and Sting himself,
Mm-hmm.
you have like the coming together. Let's not even forget Darby and his very artistic stuff that he puts out.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have a mixture here to make a very memorable, possibly classic cinematic match. I look really forward to hearing more details of this in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, where'd you like to jump to?
What did I talk about Cybernetical?
You want to do the signings first? Because we're probably going to go off on Cybernetical for a bit.
Yeah, no. There was something else I wanted to talk about though.
Oh, okay.
What did we talk about? Private Party. We talked about Private Party. We talked about cheating. We talked about Carney. Oh, I saw some dumbass take that said that um Will Ospreay is better than Eddie Guerrero.
Oh, it's like a modern day Eddie Guerrero. Yeah. No.
Fuck that.
No, Will Ospreay is a very talented performer, but he is not the charisma machine that Eddie Guerrero was.
Yeah, I don't. Will Ospreay does not have the same ring presence that Eddie Guerrero did.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my one thing I wanted to say about that.
Okay.
So let's talk about the recent NXT signings.
Recent as in like yesterday? Or the day before, maybe?
Something like
Yeah,
that.
there 3 new women signed on to NXT, specifically around the Women's Dusty Road Tag Team Classic, I think, but probably going beyond that as well.
Mm-hmm.
We have independent wrestlers Lacey Ryan, Priscilla Kelly, and Elena Black. We saw Elena Black on an episode of Dark and one of the matches from the Collective.
Yes. We have seen Priscilla Kelly everywhere. She
Yep.
was married to Darby Allin until last year.
Yeah, they decided to split. Yeah, we've definitely seen her in AEW. And Lacey Ryan is a fairly well-known indie name.
Mm-hmm. These are 3 very talented women
Mm-hmm.
who could have done a world of good for the AEW women's division. These are 3 women, or at least one of them has been in the AEW ring before.
Yep.
And the fact that they let that slip and go to NXT is not a great sign for what they're doing with their women's division.
Yeah, it's kind of damning. It's not hopeful. It's like these are 3 women that AEW very much could have picked up. I think Elena Black might be the least experienced one, but even still, she's been on AEW before. They've seen her work. Priscilla Kelly is just yes. Her match with Chris Dickinson last
Mm-hmm.
year was beyond amazing.
Now I think she's in a weird position. Like, she's in a weird position vis-a-vis signing with AEW because obviously she divorced one of AEW's top talent. That said, as far as I'm aware, they are still together.
I don't know any of the personal
They're
details.
from what I'm given to understand, they are together, but they divorced because they realized at the time that neither of them were mature enough to be married.
That's
Which
totally
is
fair thing to find out.
very, very interesting. So, like, she said, I mean, she was on Vicky Guerrero's podcast last year. She said, this is an exact quote, "I think people need to stop condemning the word divorce because it sounds horrible. But sometimes you can get a divorce, spend a few years learning about yourself and maturing as a human being, and years later try again, and that would probably be a lot better."
Yeah.
So Priscilla Kelly's new ring name, by the way, is Gigi Dolan.
Mm-hmm.
Which, just little fun fact that, little Easter eggs for the people out there who are fans of the New York hardcore scene in the 80s and 90s, and men who performed naked and shit all over themselves on stage and things like that. If you combine her name and Darby's, you get Gigi Allen.
Who was a character.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's a YouTube.
That's
You can,
one way of putting it.
yeah, no. The Murder Junkies are a. I don't want to say good. The Murder Junkies were a band, or I think they're still performing. Anyway, just without their lead singer. They were a band that emphasized the rebellious aspects of punk and hardcore music. And definitely did a lot of drugs.
On stage.
There's a video that you can watch on YouTube. It's literally like documenting, because someone filmed it, the last 12 hours of Gigi Allen's life. And there's a lot of drugs. They got kicked out of a show for doing drugs on stage, then left the venue, went to a flop house, and continued doing drugs with everyone in the audience. And everyone was like, oh no, Gigi's just asleep. Boom, dead.
Yeah.
Lesson to be learned there, but I feel like the reference has to be intentional.
I definitely think, like, even the name she has of Dolan is still very reminiscent.
There's a lot that, like, I'm like, it's very interesting. And I'm still mad that AEW managed to fuck that up.
Yeah.
That's right. She was in the All Out Casino Battle Royale.
Yeah, and I think she had a match on the cruise ship last January as well.
She did.
Yeah.
So 2 performers who were in the AEW ring that they let go.
Yep.
Regardless, sucks. AEW, do better by your women. More importantly, and excitingly, we will harp on this
every week.
Excitingly, next weekend is Fight Forever.
Yes.
Now, Erin, do you want to explain what Fight Forever is?
Fight Forever is a GCW show presented by Orange Crush, which is like a fanzine for wrestling. And it's going to be
zine
20 whatever. It's going to be
not a magazine.
It's going to be 24 hours of live pro wrestling streamed through YouTube.
24 full hours.
And that's the wrong chat to throw that into. Thanks, me. I'm gonna throw this in chat. This is the GoFund or the Indiegogo page for it, where they are trying to support the entire show, including like renting out the place, getting the ring, getting the streaming set up and everything, and paying the wrestlers on their own.
Yeah, so they've
kind of a look behind the curtain of what it costs to do something like this.
Yeah, so I believe that the original goal was 20,000. They're on their flex goal of 40,000. So any money that goes to them is just going to keep going to the wrestlers, keep making sure that they have like some actual money, because a lot of these people haven't been able to perform. Now there's an important thing that happened this week, because Camp Leapfrog has a slot. You know, we've talked about Camp Leapfrog before. It's a bunch of the Chikara kids.
Yep.
So as a promo for that, Paco, what are you doing? As a promo for that, Boomer Hatfield put out a video on Twitter yesterday where he maybe challenged his dad to a Cibernetico match But not just a
His
regular Cybernetico, the biggest Cybernetico ever. 9 versus 9.
Yep. Plus captains.
Taco is cutting a promo for the Chikara kids. Oh, my
Yeah.
little
So,
man.
so yeah, he set up a challenge specifically for his dad. Dad, I'm a very good professional wrestler. I wanted to get that because
He
it
got
sounds so funny when I watch.
Dash, a very good professional. So, for those of you not familiar with Cybernetico rules, let's explain what a Cybernetico is. There are 2 teams of usually 8, in this case 9 people, where there is a set order in which you are allowed to tag in. It is elimination style. So each team, as someone gets eliminated, either rotates someone in until they are out of people. At that point, if the other team has more than one person left, they then have to fight each other, still in that same order, until there is one person left. Cyberneticos are also, it's actually specifically, the full term is Torneo Cybernetico. A Torneo Cybernetico has one winner. And only one winner.
And now we have talked about this before last year when we covered Chikara. I'm just seeing if it's. Yeah, I'm going to say it's actually just the Chikara episode we put out on May 8th, where they had their annual event of Crucible versus Wrestle Factory. And the amazing twist ending they did with that.
Where Whisper betrayed Ophidian and
ended up
the
winning.
Crucible, and then accidentally ended Chikara.
Yeah, no. Well, Chikara was finished when they were eliminated. This was just figuring out a packing order.
Well, no, I mean, like, accidentally shoot ended Chikara.
Oh.
Not that,
okay.
You know,
fair enough.
That was the last thing Chikara ever produced.
Yeah.
Which is not to say that the Whisper is at fault for that.
No, definitely not. And he's still amazing to watch and find him everywhere you can.
Hopefully in the Cybernetico.
Hopefully. I'm really excited for when they do announce what the teams are going to be. Because I think Camp Leapfrog is like early in the morning on the 30th.
They are 9 a.m.
Yeah, so we're going to have to wake up early for that.
That's okay. We've done that for F1.
I mean, that's fair. We woke up earlier for F1.
So, here's the thing.
Pat, I'm a jock. Why? Why is this my curve?
That's why it's called jocking off. But yeah, no, like, it's gonna be fun. I'm excited to see who each captain gets, because just a couple of hours ago, Dasha responded, a very good professional wrestler responded to the challenge that Boomer laid out. And he said yes. He said yes.
Unlike Hangman this week.
Unlike Hangman.
A very good professional wrestler said yes. And he cuts a great promo on Boomer, keeping this whole kayfabe relationship they have, and I love it. There's so many good things that have continued on from Chikara,
despite it not
leaving
being
the crap behind.
Yeah. And it's a credit to the performers for being able to do that as successfully as they have.
Yeah, like Camp Leapfrog just did a trios tournament a couple weeks ago. It's very much worth going to watch again. I'm told the building they filmed in was freezing though. But yeah, like I can think of a few names that I can expect to see in there somewhere. There's a name I really would like to see, but it's a real long shot, so
you just say it out loud. Come on, manifest it into the universe.
I'm really hoping that Mr. Touchdown, Mark Angelo Setti, will come out of retirement for this match. I don't know if he can, but I would love that play of a very good professional wrestler and Mark Angelo Setti with their history and Boomer and Molly and their history, and where is Molly going to tag in this whole
Yeah, so
thing?
that's the big question, right? So we've got this issue, which is where Molly's loyalty is.
Yeah,
Because she was in Van Dasher's corner during the Apuestas match where Dasher became unmasked.
yep, where she said she would never forgive Boomer for this, and then try to put them back together as trios for King of Trios, and then they seem to have reconciled, and it's like, this is just a whole other thing going
Because
on.
now she's got, she's got the her uncle is on one side of this conflict,
Mm-hmm.
and her cousin's on the other.
Yep.
They normally tag together.
And they're a very good tag team.
So what happens? So we'll be watching with bated breath to see what happens in the Fight Forever Torneo Cibernetico, because it's going to be good.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a heck of an event. I don't know why I said that heck. It's going to be a hell of an event.
You're keeping with tradition of not swearing. No swearing!
We're not doing Shikari episode. The kids are swearing now. I'm allowed to. But yeah.
No swearing!
Oh, funny enough, saw Dan have a story today too, where one of his images showed up on a bootleg shirt.
Mm-hmm.
So he put the bootleg shirt on a shirt.
That's so amazing. I love Pro Wrestling so much. Danhausen also is in the process of immigrating to Canada, and he had an interview with an immigrations officer who asked him if he knew Evil Uno and Stu.
Which isn't that far out there, because the person who plays Evil Uno used to be an employee of the Canadian government. I don't remember what department, but, it's a neat little circle of life.
So, I think that's everything we wanted to talk about, right?
I think that's our whole list and then some.
Okay. Do you have a match recommendation for this week?
I don't, because I did the getting into wrestling thing metaphor. I focused on that rather than finding a match. Which is ironic now that I think about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? Go back and watch Chikara Anniversary of Scotch Mist. It has the Dasher versus Boomer.
It's on IWTV. It's worth watching for sure. You can skip straight to the end if you feel like it. If you don't feel like watching the rest.
But then go back, because the rest of the card is very, very good.
The other thing I'm going to plug as a match to watch, Devils vs. Islanders, Sunday at 7 p.m. You can find bootleg streams, but it's on MSG Plus and MSG 2.
Well, in that case, the Flyers are playing tomorrow. I'm kidding.
Nobody needs to watch hockey. It's such a commitment.
It was the metaphor we used, nothing more.
Anyway, I appreciate you all hanging out. We're gonna wrap things up because we have 12 minutes until Hey Riddle Riddle Live. Speaking of which, you should listen to Hey Riddle Riddle. Maybe don't watch the live show because it's not gonna make a whole lot of sense.
Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
Listen to Hey Riddle Riddle. It's a good show. Do you have anything else you want to plug while we're here, Erin?
No.
Podcasts you like?
I just want to go to the washroom.
Okay. Erin's gotta pee. So, I will bid everyone adieu.
Copyright infringement.
Copyright infringement. Good night.
Marking Out with My Girlfriend is a production of Soses Media. Check us out at SOSES.ca. Music has been provided by Sounds Like an Earful.
Hello!
Hi.
Welcome one and all to the stream extravaganza that we are calling Jocking Off with My Girlfriend. Erin did not like that title.
Not the show I signed up for.
You can, however, blame Erica for that.
Yeah, no, that's 100% Erica.
And if
I think she was just trying to get on the show.
If you think it's the Erica that if you are the one of the two Ericas in chat right now, there's a 50-50 chance it was you.